It's strange how something so small, so ordinary, can hold a secret worth more than most people make in a year. A simple penny. 1 cent. You've seen millions of them. Scattered in drawers, dropped in parking lots, rolling under vending machines. Worth almost nothing. But one day, in 1988, the US Mint made a mistake so subtle that it went unnoticed for years. And that mistake turned one of those pennies into a six-figure treasure. The story begins, like so many others, with someone just going through their change. A man named Carl was at his kitchen table, sorting coins into paper rolls for a local fundraiser. He wasn't a collector, not really. He just liked to keep his change neat. But as he pushed the pennies into neat stacks, one coin caught his eye that it didn't look any different at first. The date, 1988, was clear beneath Lincoln's profile. But something about the mint mark looked off. The little D under the date seemed slightly out of place. It wasn't the same shape as the others. He picked it up, squinting at it under the kitchen light. The edges of the letter looked sharp in some places, fuzzy in others. And when he compared it to another 1988 penny from the same pile, the difference was obvious. He felt a little spark of curiosity. So he grabbed his magnifying glass, a cheap one he used for model trains, and took a closer look. That's when he saw it. The D mint mark didn't match the design used in 1988. It was the older style, the one used in 1989. Somehow, this coin had the wrong mint mark design. It was tiny, but to anyone who knew coins, it meant something big. He didn't know it then, but he was holding one of the most famous transitional error pennies ever discovered. The 1988 penny with a 1989 reverse DI.IT sounds small, but here's why it matters. In 1988, the US Mint used a specific reverse design for the Lincoln cent, the side with the Lincoln Memorial. But in 1989, they changed the die slightly. A new engraving, sharper details, a subtle redesign of the initials FG for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer. The two versions looked nearly identical except for a few microscopic differences. But one day, during the transition between 1988 and 1989 production, a set of dies got mixed up. Someone at the Denver Mint accidentally paired a 1988 obverse die, the front of the coin, with a 1989 reverse die. The result was a coin that officially belonged to 1988, but secretly carried the design of 1989. Only a few escaped the mint before the error was noticed. For years, nobody knew. They circulated like every other penny, spent on gum, dropped in change jars, forgotten in glove compartments, until collectors, decades later, started to notice. When Carl realized his coin looked different, he posted a photo on a small coin forum, asking if anyone had seen one like it before. At first, most people dismissed it. Lighting issue, one user wrote, probably just wear. But then one collector zoomed in and commented, look at the designer initials. That's not the 1988 reverse. That's the 1989 reverse. Carl didn't fully understand what that meant. But the replies kept coming. Experienced collectors chimed in. They called it a transitional reverse error. One of them said, if it's genuine, you've got a jackpot. He sent the coin to be authenticated. The wait was agonizing. He couldn't stop thinking about it. A penny he might have spent at a gas station could be something worth more than a car. Weeks passed, and then the results came in. The grading label read, 1988, D. Lincoln cent, reverse of 1989, transitional error, MS65 read. He read it twice, then 3 times. It was real. His hands trembled slightly as he held the encapsulated coin, gleaming under the light. He went back to the forum to share the news. Within hours, the post exploded with comments. Collectors wanted photos, details, more information. The 1988 transitional penny had been discussed for years, but only a few confirmed examples existed. Soon after, he was contacted by a well-known auction house. They'd heard about his discovery and wanted to feature it in their next rare coin event. At first, Carl hesitated. He didn't think something so small could cause such a stir. But when they told him the potential range, anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000, he agreed. The night of the auction, he sat quietly in the back row. The coin was projected on a big screen, tiny, but glowing under studio lights. The auctioneer's voice carried through the room. Lot 214, 1988. D. Lincoln cent with 1989 reverse. Rare transitional mint error. Bidding started at $15,000. Within seconds, it leapt to $25,000. Then $40,000. The crowd buzzed. Collectors whispered. The auctioneer's voice picked up pace. 50,000, 55, 60. Carl sat perfectly still, his heart thudding in his chest. When the bidding hit $80,000, someone from the front raised a paddle. Then another voice countered from the phone bank. 95,000. The room fell silent. Finally, the auctioneer called, "Do I hear 100?" A pause. Then a calm voice from the back said, 122,500. The hammer fell. Sold. The room applauded. Carl leaned back, stunned. He had just watched a penny sell for over $100,000. After the auction, his story spread like wildfire. Coin magazines, blogs, and even local news stations picked it up. They called it the penny that shouldn't exist. Experts explained the science behind it, the die mix-up, the microscopic design details, the tiny mistakes that transformed an ordinary cent into a fortune. Collectors began checking their 1988 pennies under magnifiers, looking for the telltale signs, the shape of the G in the initials, the angle of the steps on the Lincoln Memorial, the faint difference in the tail of the 8 in the date. The frenzy was real. And it wasn't just about money. It was about discovery, the thrill of finding something hidden in plain sight. Carl said later that what amazed him most wasn't the value, but the idea that this coin had been out there all along, that something so small, handled by countless people, could carry such a secret. He often thought about the moment he almost ignored it. He could have rolled it up with the others, spent it without a second glance. But something made him stop. Something made him look closer. That's how treasures are found. Years later, numismatic experts confirmed that fewer than a dozen of these 1988 transitional pennies were ever authenticated. Some estimates say fewer than 5 might remain in uncirculated condition. Today, a verified 1988 D with the 1989 reverse can fetch anywhere between $54,000 and $122,500, depending on its grade and color. It's one of the rarest modern U.S. penny errors ever made. A fluke of timing, precision, and pure chance. Collectors call it the whisper coin, because you have to look closely, quietly, to see what makes it different. And yet, it's a perfect reminder of something bigger, that even in a system built for perfection, small mistakes can create legends. Somewhere, in a handful of loose change, another one might still be waiting. Maybe in a coffee jar. Maybe in a cash register. Maybe in someone's pocket right now, dull and unnoticed, carrying the same hidden history. Carl still keeps a photo of that penny on his desk. When people ask what he did with the money, he smiles and says, "I didn't keep the penny, but I kept the story." And that story keeps growing. Every time a collector flips over a coin, every time someone takes a closer look, they think of that 1988 penny. The one that proved even the smallest things can hold enormous value. Because in the end, it wasn't just an error. It was a reminder that miracles don't always shine. They hide, quietly, until the right eyes find them. And that's why coin collectors still search. Not just for metal, not for money, but for those rare, beautiful mistakes that somehow, against all odds, make everything else feel possible. It's funny how something as small as a penny can hold so much mystery. You see them every day at the bottom of your pocket, scattered in a drawer, rolling across the counter at a store. But every once in a while, one of those little copper coins turns out to be worth more than most people will ever imagine. That's the story behind one of the strangest and most valuable modern penny errors ever discovered. The 2000 US 1-cent coin with a shocking twist that took even the most experienced collectors by surprise. The year 2000 marked the start of a new millennium. The U.S. Mint had just finished producing the 50-state quarter series and was in full swing creating billions of Lincoln cents for everyday use. Nothing seemed unusual about it. The same design that had been used for decades, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, still rolled out of the presses by the billions. But then something extraordinary happened. A handful of those ordinary-looking pennies weren't what they seemed. Instead of being struck on their usual copper-plated zinc planchets, a few were accidentally struck on the wrong kind of metal, the golden-colored planchets intended for the new Sacagawea dollar coins. It was a once-in-a-generation mistake, and when the first one surfaced, it left collectors speechless. A Lincoln penny, with the color and composition of a golden dollar. At first glance, it didn't even make sense. The penny was too small, too light, yet it gleamed like gold. People who found them often thought they were fake, maybe plated or altered somehow, but under the right light, the difference was unmistakable. It wasn't just a copper penny that had been coated with something. This was a genuine minting error, created when the wrong planchets were fed into the presses. Just imagine that for a second. Somewhere in the mint's production line, the machines that were supposed to be stamping out dollar coins accidentally sent a few blank dollar planchets into the penny presses. The dies that were meant for Abraham Lincoln struck those golden discs instead of the copper ones, and the result was something that wasn't supposed to exist at all. A 1-cent coin made of the wrong metal. It's known among collectors as the 2000 Lincoln cent struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, and it has become one of the most famous modern minting errors in U.S. history. When the first example was confirmed, experts could hardly believe it. It wasn't a minor doubling or a weak strike. It was an entirely different metal composition, the kind of mistake that should have been impossible given the minting process of the time. The story of its discovery spread quickly. One of the first people to find one described opening a roll of new pennies from the bank and immediately noticing that one coin gleamed differently. It wasn't the familiar reddish-brown copper. It was bright, golden, almost glowing compared to the others. At first, he thought it might be a novelty item or a coated penny someone had tossed into circulation. But when he picked it up, the weight felt off. A real collector's instinct kicked in. He checked the sound, the texture, and the color again. Something was definitely different. He sent it off for verification, half expecting to be told it was fake. But when it came back from authentication, the letter from the grading service changed everything. It wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't altered. It was real. A 2000 Lincoln cent struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet. And it was worth thousands. At the first major auction, collectors gathered, buzzing with excitement. People whispered as the coin was brought out under the lights, its golden surface catching the reflection of the room. The bidding started modestly, but it didn't stay that way for long. Within minutes, the price climbed past 10,000, then 20, then 40. By the time the gavel came down, the crowd was stunned. The final sale price was over $46,000. And that wasn't the end of it. As word spread, more examples surfaced, just a handful, each verified, each genuine. Every one of them became an instant legend. As years passed, the value climbed higher. When another appeared at auction, perfectly preserved, it sold for a jaw-dropping $110,000. For a coin that was supposed to be worth a single cent, that number was almost impossible to believe. So how does something like that even happen? The U.S. Mint operates with extreme precision, especially in modern times. Different coins are produced in different presses, and planchets for each denomination are carefully sorted. But even the most advanced systems can make mistakes. During the transition to new coinage in 2000, the presses for the Sacagawea dollar were running around the same time as those for the Lincoln cent somehow. A small batch of dollar planchets found their way into the penny press. Maybe due to leftover blanks from another machine or a loading error. When those wrong planchets were struck with penny dies, they created a hybrid coin unlike anything else. Because the dollar planchets were larger, part of the design didn't fit perfectly, making each one slightly off-center. The color was completely different, too. A deep golden hue instead of the traditional copper tone. These clues are what helped experts confirm that they were real mint errors, not post-mint modifications. And the rarity? Almost beyond belief. Only a tiny handful are known to exist, fewer than a dozen verified examples in total. That's what drives the staggering price. When you combine rarity with visual appeal and an intriguing backstory, you get the perfect storm for collector demand. Think about it. Billions of 2000 pennies exist, all virtually worthless beyond their face value. But these few golden cents, created by pure accident, are each worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's like finding a golden ticket hidden in the most ordinary place imaginable. Your pocket change. And for collectors, it's the kind of story that fuels the passion behind the hobby. It's not just about the money. It's about the possibility. The idea that the next coin you look at could turn out to be something extraordinary. That thrill of discovery, that small jolt of disbelief when you realize what you're holding, that's what keeps people searching. Over the years, many collectors have gone on their own hunts for these rare coins. They've searched through rolls, checked every penny and change, and examined thousands of coins under bright lamps. Most of them never find one, but that doesn't stop the excitement, because every once in a while someone does. And when they do, the world takes notice. News spreads across collector forums and auction houses, each discovery reigniting the fascination. The golden Lincoln penny of 2000 has become a legend, a reminder that even in an age of mass production and automation, true accidents can still happen. And when they do, they can create something priceless. What's remarkable about this error is how visually striking it is. Even someone who doesn't know a thing about coins can tell it's different at a glance. That shimmering color instantly catches the eye. It's the kind of coin that demands attention, that makes you pause, tilt it in the light, and wonder how something so familiar could look so completely foreign. And if you think about it, that's part of the magic. The Lincoln penny has been around for over a century, and we've all seen billions of them. They're one of the most recognizable coins in the world. But in 2000, for just a brief moment, the minting process glitched, and out came a few golden imposters. Pennies that looked like they didn't belong to this world. Collectors often say that the beauty of error coins is that they're born from chaos, tiny mistakes in massive systems. And yet, those mistakes give them individuality. No two are exactly alike. Each 2000 golden penny tells its own story. The slight differences in strike, color, and surface make every one of them unique. That's why serious collectors are willing to pay such incredible sums. It's not just about owning a piece of metal. It's about owning a piece of history, a coin that shouldn't exist. And while most of us might never see one in person, the story itself is inspiring. It reminds us that value can appear in the most unexpected places. That something you overlook every day could hide a secret worth a fortune. It's the kind of story that makes people check their pockets a little more carefully, look twice at their change, and dream of finding that one golden penny shining among the ordinary. The market for rare mint errors like this continues to grow. Every few years, when one of these coins comes up for auction, the buzz returns. People speculate on how many might still be out there. Maybe there's one still sitting unnoticed in a private collection, or tucked into a roll of unsearched pennies at the back of a drawer. It's unlikely, but not impossible. And that not impossible keeps the excitement alive. You ever pick up a penny and think, it's just 1 cent? Worthless, almost. You toss it on the counter, drop it in the car cup holder, or let it vanish between sofa cushions. Nobody really looks at pennies anymore, right? But what if I told you one of those tiny, copper-colored coins, one that looks just like all the others, could be worth more than $37,000? Yeah, that same coin you ignore every single day might actually be a hidden fortune. The year is 2005. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia is running at full speed. Machines pounding, dies striking thousands of times per minute, sheets of metal being cut into perfect little circles called planchets. It's all automatic, precise, fast. Billions of coins rolling off the line. Everything working like clockwork. But somewhere, deep in that blur of machinery and noise, something went wrong. Just for a split second. And in that split second, an ordinary 1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny, became something extraordinary. At first glance, it looked like nothing special. The same copper-plated zinc surface. The same calm face of Abraham Lincoln staring to the right. The same words, "In God we trust," arched above his head. But this one was different. Something about it didn't sit right. Collectors who found one didn't even realize what they had at first. The details were subtle. A small doubling on the lettering, a strange misalignment, a shifted strike. Some coins even showed an odd, ghost-like outline near Lincoln's profile. And one, even rarer, appeared to be struck on the wrong type of metal altogether. These are what coin experts call mint errors, the kinds of mistakes that are never supposed to leave the factory. But every now and then, one slips through. One of the most famous examples of this is the 2005 Lincoln cent with a dramatic double die obverse. That's the front side of the coin. When you look at the date or the word liberty, you can see it. The faint doubling. the shadow effect, the sign that the metal stamp used to create the coin, shifted ever so slightly before striking again. That single flaw turned an everyday penny into a collector's dream, and when the first of these coins went up for auction, people couldn't believe it. A coin worth 1 cent selling for over $13,500, and another graded perfectly selling for more than $37,000? It didn't seem real. But it was. See, 2005 was supposed to be a routine year for the mint. No major design changes, no special editions. Just billions of pennies struck as usual. But something in the die-making process that year caused a handful of dramatic errors to form. A few were broad-struck, missing their proper rim. Others were double-struck, meaning the coin was struck once, ejected improperly, and struck again at a slightly different angle. And a few, even more mysterious, appear to have been struck on planchets meant for foreign coins. It sounds impossible, but it happens. Every now and then, a blank intended for another denomination or even another country finds its way into the press. That's what gives collectors goosebumps, knowing that a minting error like that can happen entirely by accident, and then vanish into circulation like a secret waiting to be found. Imagine this. A man in Kansas is rolling coins at his kitchen table, just trying to fill up a jar for the Coinstar machine. He dumps a handful of pennies out, and one of them catches the light differently. It's shinier. He looks closer. The edges seem thinner. The sound it makes when he drops it on the table isn't the same as the others, a sharper, higher ping. He thinks nothing of it at first, but something in his gut tells him not to ignore it. He keeps it aside. Later, out of curiosity, he weighs it. It's lighter than it should be. That's weird, he thinks. He takes out his magnifying glass and checks the date. 2005. Then he notices something even stranger. A doubling on the word liberty. Almost like the letters were stamped twice. He posts a blurry photo online. Within hours, his inbox is flooded. Collectors begging to buy it. Dealers offering to appraise it. One person even tells him, "You might be holding a $30,000 penny." He laughs it off until he sends it to get authenticated. A few weeks later, the results come back. Genuine mint error. Verified. The coin goes to auction. And when the gavel finally drops, he's staring at a check for more than $37,000. For a penny he almost cashed in for 1 cent. Stories like that spread fast. And every time they do, collectors all over the country start checking their change jars again. Because for every known 2005 error, there could still be more hiding in plain sight. Now, the 2005 penny is especially interesting because of how deceptive it is. Unlike older coins where the errors jump out immediately, these are subtle. You need good lighting, patience, and a magnifying glass to spot them. The doubling might appear only on certain letters, or around Lincoln's ear, or near the date. Some might have slightly off-centered designs. Others could have that telltale floating roof on the Lincoln Memorial, a design glitch caused by die deterioration that gives the illusion that the roof of the memorial is detached. To the average person, it just looks like a normal penny. But to someone who knows what they're looking for, it's a golden ticket. One collector from Oregon said he found his 2005 double-die penny in a grocery store parking lot. It was lying face up, dull and dirty. He almost didn't pick it up, but when he cleaned it later that night, he noticed the doubling on the date. He sent it in for grading, and sure enough, it came back as a verified mint error. That penny sold for just under $15,000. Think about that for a second. A coin that probably passed through vending machines, cash registers, and 100 pockets. Now sitting in a display case worth more than 10 times its weight in gold. That's the magic of coin errors. They're not made to be found, they're made by mistake. But every mistake tells a story. And what makes the 2005 penny story so fascinating is that it bridges eras. It's modern, not ancient, not from the 1800s, and yet it holds the same kind of mystique that older era coins do. It's a reminder that even in our modern, high-tech minting process, human and mechanical error still exists, still slips through, still creates these once-in-a-lifetime treasures. Experts estimate that only a tiny fraction of all 2005 pennies carry the major doubling or off-metal error. Maybe a few dozen known examples. That scarcity is what drives the price so high. And when you combine that with perfect condition, Coins that haven't been scratched, worn, or circulated too much. You get the top of the market. Those are the coins that fetch $30,000, $40,000 or more. Collectors look for these like treasure hunters. They'll buy rolls of pennies from banks, sift through them for hours, searching for that one anomaly, that one tiny imperfection that could change everything. And most nights, they find nothing. But the chance that one might still be out there keeps them going. It's that thrill, that electric rush of possibility, that makes this hobby so addictive. And maybe that's why people love stories like this, because they show that even in the smallest things, something we all overlook, there's still room for wonder. Now, if you ever come across a 2005 penny that looks off, don't spend it just yet. Check carefully. Use a magnifier, look at Liberty. Look at the date. Look around Lincoln's eye and ear. Any trace of doubling could mean you've found something extraordinary. And remember, errors aren't always about doubling. Sometimes it's a die clash, where the front and back dies hit each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of one design on the opposite side. Sometimes it's a broad strike, where the coin expands outward without a collar, making it larger and flatter than usual. And sometimes it's an off-metal strike, the Holy Grail, where a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime or a foreign coin. Those are the ones that can soar past $40,000. Every year, new discoveries show up. Coins nobody knew existed suddenly appear in collections or auctions. Someone cleaning out their grandfather's drawer. Someone rolling change for the first time in years. Someone just curious enough to look twice. And every single one of them learns the same thing, that a single penny can change everything. The 2005 Lincoln cent is proof that lightning still strikes in modern times. That the mint, for all its precision, still makes mistakes that turn metal into legend. So next time you see a penny on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up. Look at it closely. Because maybe it's not just 1 cent. Maybe it's a $37,000 story waiting to be told. And who knows? Maybe the next great coin discovery won't come from a collector or a dealer or a historian. Maybe it'll come from you.